Ah yes, what a perfect morning to play some Mega Man. This series is just absolutely amazing. All 7 classic titles have at least one element that makes them fantastic and unique. Mega Man 2 has those awesome overpowered metal blades, Mega Man 5 has that cool jet ski segment in the Wave Man stage, and just about everything in Mega Man 7 makes me smile. However, I have one complaint about these legacy collections that I've been recently recording off of. So they put the first 6 games on one collection, and then they made me buy a whole extra collection just for Mega Man 7. Capcom got really greedy with that one. Come on, game designers, get it together. What were they thinking? Wait. There's more? What on earth is this? I thought this series was perfect. Ignorance truly can be bliss. That saying absolutely applies to me only having played the first 7 Mega Man classic games. After Mega Man 7, my familiarity with the rest of the series severely drops off in comparison. I figured this channel was the perfect platform to explore some of those titles I spent less time on. Today we are looking at Mega Man 8, thus making the jump to the PlayStation for the first time on this channel, not counting X3's PS1 release since we only talked about the SNES version in that video. I will also add that, yes, I know this game is also on multiple consoles, but I did not have a Sega Saturn as a kid, and I definitely did not have Mega Man 8 for Sega Saturn. I have never owned Mega Man 8 for Saturn, and I have no plans to ever own that game for Sega Saturn because, you can see the price right here. So, no, I'm not really going to be focusing on anything relating to the Sega Saturn version of this game. I understand that the soundtrack may be a little different and things of that nature, but we're just strictly focusing on the PlayStation version here because that's the one that I remember playing. I have heard quite the mix of feelings about Mega Man 8, and I knew I needed to give this game another shot. My own previous dealings with it are very limited. I did own it for the PS1 back in the day, but I think I only beat 1 or 2 Robot Master stages and then never finished it. Did I lie to you and say I'd never heard of Mega Man 8? Yes, I did. The jig is up. However, my knowledge of this game is so low compared to the first 7 that I may as well have just not even ever known it existed. So a goal I set for myself in this video was to finish the game for the first time. There was one stage in particular that I remember driving me nuts as a kid, and ultimately that stage was the reason why I never got too far in this game and just stuck to Mega Man 2 and 3 mostly in my childhood. Before going into this playthrough, I was very interested to see if Frostman would continue to drive me insane. The other Robot Master that of course ruined this game for me was Clown Man. I mean, his stage is horrific. I think one of the biggest reasons why I gave up on this game so easily was because of Clown Man, and a few other things, but mostly Clown Man. The stage is so unappealing and feels very out of place in the Mega Man series. I swear half the criticism this game receives is just because people are reminded of Clown Man when talking about this game. Outside of Clown Man, I also remember being super frustrated by the jump, jump, slide, slide segment in Frostman's stage as a kid. Put both of these stages back to back and you have the perfect recipe for me to say, forget this, I'm gonna go play any other Mega Man game for now, thanks. So, I put down Mega Man 8 and never really picked it back up, and I played a ton of the first 7 classics and then a lot of the first 2 X games, and as we know, recently I explored Mega Man X3 and have found an appreciation for that game. So I'm here now to revisit Mega Man 8 and try and do something similar that I did with X3. See if I can find kind of a silver lining in the game and find some things that I actually like about it, since I gave up on it so easily when I was a kid because Clown Man's stage was just so off-putting, and then when I finally beat him, going into another stage, I was like, well, Frostman's is so frustrating and I just don't really feel like playing this game anymore right now because I keep dying. So we're going to delve into the normal things that we delve into on this channel. We're going to take a look at, of course, gameplay. Then we're also going to be, of course, talking about the soundtrack and the artwork as well. So with that, let's get into first my experience playing through this game for the first time. Anything that I'm saying from this point on about gameplay is now after I have experienced the game again. Right away, I can say that I definitely overreacted to this game as a kid, or at least overreacted to my own memories. I got through Clown Man, Grenade Man, and Frost Man with relative ease this time around. On the jump, jump, slide, slide part of Frost Man, I only died once. Beating Clown Man with the Mega Buster was a bit of a pain, but nothing worse than any other entry in the series. Overall, my early game experience with Mega Man 8 as an adult made me think this game is maybe better than I remember when I was a kid. Also, I realized I may have experienced a bit of false memory when I wrote about my childhood experiences with this game. Frostman is not weak to Clown Man, he's weak to Grenade Man. Therefore, I likely beat Clown Man and Grenade Man, but then gave up somewhere on Frostman's stage with the jumping and sliding. Maybe I started with Grenade Man instead of Clown Man, but I honestly forget. I do not ever recall beating Frostman though, and I especially do not have any memory of beating Tengu Man or any further. I had considered getting every bolt in the game, but then I decided,
Nah, I don't really feel like it.
There may be an achievement or whatever for doing this task on the Legacy Collection, but yeah, I could care less. Stressing over a collectible in a Mega Man game totally kills the experience for me, hence why I say I prefer a lot of the classic games over the X series, but we've discussed that in the X3 video a little bit, and the other ones. The amount of stage revisiting I would have to do to collect every bolt would be insane, and it would be way worse than the amount of backtracking required in any of the first 3 X games at least. Therefore, a true 100% completion run of Mega Man 8 is probably really tedious and definitely strays away from that simplicity that makes the first several titles so magnificent. Some of the bolts seem to be in some really difficult spots to get. Sure, with some practice I could probably master this pursuit, but not in my current state by any means. My standards for this game were pretty low going into it, honestly. Once I got past the first 3 stages, I thought, well, that wasn't so bad. But that's the thing, you don't want your Mega Man experience to be not so bad, you want it to be downright amazing. Mega Man 8 just is not that, and it definitely has more of a kind of generic platformer feeling than a cutting-edge new Mega Man title. I will be honest, playing this game to get the footage for this video and trying to finally beat it felt more like a chore than it did with X3 or any of the other ones I've done. I was genuinely excited to finish X3, but with 8, I wrote, recorded, and edited so much of this video before I actually played any of it. Much of my videos talk about topics outside of the gameplay, so I distracted myself in my soundtrack and artwork discussions first. Then I went and actually played it. Mega Man 8 just does not have the draw that these other titles do. Perhaps though this feeling was just also me wanting to play something else at this point, since I've done so many Mega Man games lately. And that's a hint that the next review will not be another game in this series. Once I beat Frostman, it was on to new territory for me, already, and I was immediately not thrilled. Tengu Man has a horrible stage. Do not tell me the wind is fun. If you think that this is fun, seriously explain it to me. Sure, you can move a little fast when you're going with the wind, but it is so frustrating. The segment where you're on Rush, though, is actually really fun. Do not even get me started on those bubbles and the spikes. The momentum is so frustrating, and you can pop very easily. But thankfully I cleared it all pretty quickly. However, fighting Tengu Man really sucks. They give you this weapon that stays on the ground, and he stays in the air. Do you really think that's fun? 'Cause it's not. This game follows the same tradition set by Mega Man 7, where the middle of the game has a small detour and then you unlock the remaining Robot Masters. I actually think it's a pretty cool way to change things up, but again, Mega Man 7 did this first. I'll still compliment Mega Man 8 for keeping that formula because I think it does work pretty well. Before we get to the remaining Robot Masters, we get more cutscenes. Again, I don't care. I think I just found it hard to be interested in the storyline of this game because it's also goofy feeling. Even compared to other games from the mid to late 90s, this game just feels silly. And do not give me the "you had to be there at the time" comment on this one. I was around for the PlayStation and N64 generation. This game is silly. When we get to the soundtrack section, I will detail my love for Astro Man's theme. And I was legitimately excited to see what his stage was like because I had never seen it. This stage was so horrible. It made me actually just say, I'm gonna have to finish this game another time. I really wanted to beat this game, but I just lost interest and it became so frustrating in the second half. I do not want to go through 2 mazes in a Mega Man stage. The platforms in this stage that disappear are not fun. Other Mega Man games have the unique disappearing and reappearing blocks that we all know and love. However, this stage decides to just have them all appear at once, give you barely enough time to get through, and also throw an onslaught of annoying enemies at you that take multiple hits. Overall, I just don't know, man. This game is okay. It's definitely not the worst thing I've ever played by any means, but wow, it feels so much worse than any of the first 7 games in the classic series. I'm genuinely sorry that I did not accomplish my goal to finish the game for this video, but I lost interest so much, and I was not about to force myself. I legitimately wanted to finish X3 for the first time and get all the cool upgrades, and I was pretty proud of that when I told you all about getting the gold armor and all these other things. However, I just have zero desire at this time to finish Mega Man 8. Maybe one day I'll make a follow-up to this video, and it kind of opens the door for that. But all I can say is that I do understand why people dislike this entry in the series. It just feels off compared to the first 7. Really quick too, before we get into the soundtrack, I am glad I did not force myself to continue with this game, because I did look up the first Wily stage and saw more of that good old jump, jump, slide, slide action, and I just kind of started laughing to myself because this was the thing that killed the game for me as a kid, and to know that if I had tried to fully beat it, I would have been met with an even harder challenge in this same facet. And yeah, I just gotta say, guys, it's gonna be a while before I pick this one up again. This game's a little rough. There are a few major reasons why I always have a lot to say about the soundtracks for these games. And first, it is that they are genuinely some of the most discussed and popular soundtracks in all of gaming. Second is that I spend a lot of time at my job listening to video game music, so I end up having a lot more time in life for the soundtracks than just playing games. And if you remember, I half-jokingly say that I appreciate video game music more than the actual games, and a lot of it's for that reason. Mega Man 8 is no exception to this rule, and I recently had been bumping this one on the job a whole lot. This soundtrack was composed by Shusaku Uchiyama, who seems to have had a much larger hand in the music for the Resident Evil series than the Mega Man games. However, he was the dude for Mega Man 8. Just like the game itself, Mega Man 8's soundtrack also has a lot of mixed feelings. I understand that a lot of these themes are very different from what we had back in the NES days of the classic series. However, some of these tracks do feel like a natural progression of the series following Mega Man 7. Ultimately, the jump from cartridge to CD is a massive shift in sound, so yes, 8 does sound quite a bit different from any of the first 7. I will get this first criticism out of the way. By this point in the video, you already know that I don't like Clown Man, and his theme is also terrible. Surprise, surprise. It's just as bad as the stage or the boss himself. Honestly, in the modern world, I feel like if I could prompt an AI to generate a clown theme, it would spit this song out. It is so generic feeling and gives zero of that kick-ass energy that so many other tracks in the Mega Man series have. I don't mind cutesy artwork like I talked about with the hard hats riding trains in Mega Man 5, I love that, but this stage is just kind of pathetic. Several of the tracks in Mega Man 8 really remind me of the American Sonic CD soundtrack, which is another very controversial, debated soundtrack. Listening to the first Wily stage theme and the final zone for Sonic CD, you could easily replace these themes with one another and not know that they were from different games. The main knock against these themes is that they don't move around a whole lot, if I could describe it that way. Both themes are pretty simplistic and have a more atmospheric feeling to them than some of the earlier entries in both Mega Man and Sonic. I dig the drum and bass riff that Wily Stage 1 from Mega Man 8 has, but I do wish the song progressed a little more as it went on. Not a bad theme at all, but it is a bit basic. Hey, if you like PlayStation era drum and bass music, definitely check out Ryland Kirshanov's mixes. Sorry if I said your name wrong, but that dude is awesome, and I listen to his stuff all the time while driving. And with that, I feel like you could have swapped Wily Stage 1 and Wily Stage 2 themes in Mega Man 8. The second theme is much better in welcoming you to the final levels, whereas the first one would be better for a let's buckle down and finish this kind of environment. We've seen in Mega Man Classic, as you progress in some of the Wily stages, they do simplify the themes to just this like kind of darker, more ambient feeling. I'm especially thinking of Mega Man 2 towards the end, and that is how Wily Stage 1 feels in Mega Man 8. So I do think that they should have swapped 1 and 2 for the soundtrack in this game. Wily Stage 2 legitimately might be the best song on this soundtrack, and I feel like it would have been an excellent introduction into the final stages. Following my typical taste for bass-heavy music, I think it has a similar feeling to Wily Stage 1 in Mega Man 7, or Sigma Stage 1 in Mega Man X. Both themes are dominated by their bass lines and really signal that big shift in the game, that the end of the game is close and that these stages are serious. The problem is that with Mega Man 8, this is the second Wily theme, so you're already in the castle, you're already going through it a little bit. The intense mood shift gets lost since it's not the first Wily stage theme, and it could have definitely benefited from being swapped. In general, the bass lines are the greatest asset that the Mega Man 8 soundtrack has. Tracks that lack a distinct bass line feel very generic, but those that have them are incredibly memorable. Here's a list of all the stage themes I find to be memorable in this game versus those that I find generic. The commonality in the memorable tracks is absolutely the presence of a bass line. Again, boil this whole argument down to personal preference, but I think we can all almost agree that anything related to Clown Man is pretty much horrible. Overall, the soundtrack has some shiners, but also some stinkers. I think this game feels like more of a generic platform than the super high quality that we expect out of Mega Man, and the soundtrack sometimes enforces this generic effect. Much like with the game, as I listen to this music, I go, well, it isn't all that bad. And again, you want the Mega Man experience to be amazing, and not just okay enough. We are going to talk about the physical artwork, manual cover art and all that, but I want to incorporate some discussion about the color palette and the in-game art. This game just looks kind of weird to me, honestly. Again, it's one of those things where the gameplay just feels kind of off, the soundtrack's a little off, the color palette's a little off, and I know that's kind of a lame way to describe things, but it's the best I can do. Honestly, it just feels not quite there. A lot of the color choices for the stages are not nearly as appealing to me as they are in Mega Man 7, or even many of the stages in the first 6 games on the NES. Let's compare two ice-themed stages really quick. We got Frost Man and Freeze Man. Freeze Man from Mega Man 7, Frost Man from Mega Man 8. I would pick Freeze Man any day over Frost Man, based on artwork alone. I'm not talking gameplay, though in that regard, yes, I would also pick Freeze Man. My false memory of this game actually contained a brighter color palette. Perhaps I was just thinking of Mega Man's outfit when he has the soccer ball equipped, but I remembered Clown Man's stage being a lot more pink. Also, I forgot how dark the Frost Man stage looked in general. It's not a terrible color palette, but I certainly prefer other Mega Man games more. I like the brighter, more popped out colors of some of the earlier entries in the series. Lastly, why on earth is Astro Man's stage the way it is? None of this reminds me of space, and I was so disappointed upon seeing it. Like I said, his theme was so good, I love listening to it, and then I was so disappointed by the gameplay aspect of his stage, and what is this artwork? It's terrible. Real quick too, if you have gotten this far in the video and wondered why I have only briefly touched upon the silly voice acting in the cutscenes in this video, well, that's because everybody's already done that. I feel like that if there's one thing that somebody would know about Mega Man 8, it's that it has horrible voice acting and Mega Man sounds like a little girl. And, yeah, it's been said a million times, and I know I just said it too, but I'm not going to go in so deep on the voices or anything. Bottom line, you all probably can assume this by now. Yes, I think they're annoying as crap. As for the cutscenes, I skip them, and I don't care. Mega Man is not a series that I want text or cutscenes in much at all. This is also what has prevented me from playing a lot of the later X games, especially like X5 through 8, because I see they just become so mired in all this storyline stuff that I just could not care less about. If I want to know these things, then I'll go read the manual on my own accord, which of course we do on this channel. I know that they were showing off technology at the time to put cutscenes like this in a game, but I just want to play the game. I say leave the cutscenes and text to the RPGs of the world, and that's all I'll really be saying about that part of the game. So, moving on. Moving on to physical artwork. Yes, I actually bought the game this time, not just on the Legacy Collection. And obviously you saw my physical copy of the game in the intro joke of this video. I still record from the Legacy Collection though. I am working on getting the means to record off of the actual old systems, but for now I'm just recording off of PC. One thing I did not know, or at least remember, was that there is a special anniversary edition for this game that comes with extra artwork. I think when I was a kid, I just had the greatest hits version. Given the nature of this channel, I kind of felt like I had to get that little anniversary artwork. However, I bought the version of the game that has the cover that says it's the 10th anniversary edition. Of course, I bought it used, and it didn't have the anniversary booklet in there. I later did some research, and apparently it's kind of rare. And I have heard that possibly not even every copy necessarily came with it. And I'll link my source for that information in the description. So for those reasons, deal with the scans from another source. And that's the same source that I mentioned before. It's linked below. Otherwise, all the scans of the manual and the case are of my own copy, and I did them. Therefore, you will not see a link to any scanned manual since I did that all myself this time. But for that anniversary booklet, I'm not shelling out for it, and it seems to be even hard to find on eBay, so I don't really know. Last time, we looked at the awesome full-color manual of Mega Man X3 that was made to resemble a web page. But now we are stuck in black and white with this game on the PS1. I remember manuals still being decently colorful for the most part of my childhood, but maybe the beginning of the decline was kind of in this era. That being said, a lot of manuals in the NES era were still black and white, so it's just kind of a toss-up, but it feels like we've regressed from our last video. We had this kind of creative, fun manual with X3, and then we're downgraded here with Mega Man 8. Naturally, the manual is also the cover of the game since this is a PS1 game. Sure, it was convenient to have the manual just also be the cover, but it sure does look lame if somebody misplaced the manual and then you just have this weird open case. So for this reason, I was never too keen on manuals being the front cover on a lot of these CD-based games, especially not on the long box, the early PlayStation games or the Sega Saturn or Sega CD. If you lose the manual on those, they look hideous. I will say the cover here is incredibly memorable though. The bright blues throughout are very appealing. It's a much more simplistic cover than something like Mega Man X3, but it definitely works. So next we're going to scroll through some highlights from the manual itself. There's not a ton here to go through since it's in black and white only, and I'm not too fond of some of the artwork. And I will show some of the character bios and such, things that I enjoy. However, due to the length of this video, I will not necessarily read a lot of this word for word. So I have my own scan of the manual here. Like I said, it's PDF. I was able to scan it in pretty easily. There's some issues, you see a little bit. It's not perfect. It's like up here with the crease because I couldn't get it to lay flat perfectly, but whatever. So we have the cover. I've shown this a million times. Like I said, it's pretty nice. Going down here, we do have a cool Capcom hint line, a 1-900 number, so you rack the phone bill up with this one, 79 cents per minute. It's pretty awesome. And, again, we're in black and white here, which is unfortunate. This is pretty cool artwork, though. Gotta like that. But coming down here, we just have some game startups, such and such. Mega Man looks pretty good here, I guess. Coming down here, more just how to play Mega Man, more general functions of the game, but we do get this cool image of Mega Man, Proto Man, and I believe that guy's name is Duo. Coming down, again, just more explanations about the game, some screenshots, all in black and white. Not the best thing in the world, but here's the good part of the manual where we're talking about the other characters, and you see this artwork's actually really nice. I just wish it was in full color, but you get what you get, I guess. So, other Dr. Light creations. Mega Man is not alone on this adventure. Dr. Light has been busy creating other robots to help Mega Man find Dr. Wily. Here are those that Mega Man can count on when he needs help. So we have Roll, Proto Man, and Auto, classic staples in the series at this point, as well as Eddie or Flip Top and Beat, as well as Rush. I mean, Rush has been around since Mega Man 3. These are classic characters at this point, and same with Proto Man, Mega Man 3, and I think Roll's even older than that. So I believe they acknowledge Roll even in the first game, huh? I forget. So anyway, moving down here, we have now some of the villains. So, okay, anybody who thinks that this character is named Bass, please analyze yourself for a second here. The game in Japan is called Rockman. His sister is Roll. It's obviously a music reference, and this guy is called Bass and his dog Treble. If you think that's Bass still after hearing all that, please, for the love of God, check yourself. But anyway, it's Bass and Treble. And I know in Japan, Bass is at least called Forte. I forget what Treble's name is, but Forte is another musical term. So, guys, come on. But anyways, what I do appreciate here is that every single villain has their own bio. Pretty much every other Mega Man manual we've looked at, I believe they just list the villains, but we have actual bios for all of them. So they did put a lot of extra effort into that. So our villains in this game, of course, we have Dr. Wily, Bass and Treble, Tengu Man, Astro Man, Sword Man, Clown Man, Search Man, Frost Man, Grenade Man, and Aquaman. And I don't know how they didn't get sued over Aquaman. Come on now. But anyway, lastly here, I believe that this figure that they're talking about here, it's, in commemoration of Mega Man's 10th anniversary, Capcom has produced 1,000 numbered resin kit models of one of our favorite video game icons, Mega Man, right? So, super limited figure here. I believe this thing is worth like a ton of money. I am assuming that this figure is outrageously expensive these days. So, that's pretty much it. And then we see some other available stuff from Capcom. This is awesome here. This Mega Man and Rush poster here, some Resident Evil stuff, strategy guides, t-shirts, and this backpack. I wonder how much that backpack runs these days. Capcom logo on flap. That's got to be awesome. I wish I could send in this card still, but I would imagine I would not hear back. So, and then here's the back of the cover. Pretty cool here. Not gonna lie, pretty great artwork here. So, yeah, that's the manual. Like I said, not too impressive. Definitely feels like a step back from X3, but there's some good things about it for sure. So with that, we'll get to the conclusion of the video. My rankings for the gameplay of Mega Man 8, I'm giving that one a 2 out of 5. For the soundtrack of Mega Man 8, I'll give that one a 3 out of 5. And for the artwork of Mega Man 8, I'll also give that a 2 out of 5. Definitely not my favorite game by any means, but not the worst thing ever. So hey, now that I know that there are more Mega Man games past Mega Man 7, maybe I'll have to review 9, 10, and 11, especially since I didn't really like 8. However, these sequels lose a lot of the physical media presence that is so integral to this channel. So perhaps I'll need to get creative with discussing artwork for those reviews and maybe find some digital stuff for that. However, as I mentioned, the next game that I'll be reviewing, I have it planned out. It's not going to be in the Mega Man series. I need a little break from doing Mega Man videos. This is the 4th one in about, a month, 2 months. So keep an eye out for the podcast and for the SNES Quest and all that. Yeah, if you're enjoying what you see here, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and we will catch you next time.